Good morning. Today is Friday, April 24th. Getting ready for the weekend. Um, Today, your objective is I will complete the guided reading for Chapter 15, Section 2, which is all about people of the North. Yesterday, I went ahead and I previewed the entire section, even though yesterday you were supposed to read the first section and the first half, and then today the second. So I'll just do a real quick review. Um, so basically, the people up north, a lot of people worked in factories because that's where the industrialization had taken place up north in New England area. Um, and the factory conditions, the workers had a really lousy life. They worked like average of 11.4 hours, 6 days a week. There were women, children, men all working. It was really hot in the summer because there was no air conditioning. So it'd be like 90 degrees outside, and all the machines when they're working put off heat. So it might be over 100 degrees in there during the summer, which can make you very sweaty, hot, and tired, and then you can get fatigued. And then when you're working 11.4 hours, you're working long hours, you get tired, and the machines didn't have protection. The belts and all the gears and everything were out in the open. So if you made one mistake, you could be killed or maimed with your arm pulled off or a leg or whatever. So it wasn't really good conditions. They used children as well as men and women. The children were used a lot of times and like, hey, go in there and pull that out. Something got stuck in the machinery, and when they did, they would turn on and kill them. And women were only paid about half as much as men. Children were even less. The skilled workers during this time decided they were going to organize, some of them. And they started the first trade unions. And they did go on strikes, but they had no power, so they just fired them usually. African Americans were treated very poorly. We talked about this in Chapter 15 and the abolitionist movement. You would think, in the South they had slaves, they were probably worse to the African Americans. But not necessarily. There was just as much discrimination and prejudice up north. And actually the Southern people said, hey, we treat our slaves better than you do your workers, because at least our slaves get fed every day and have access to medical. Whereas your workers, you don't pay very much, they don't have enough food for their families, and they don't even get medical attention because they can't afford it. Most places did not allow African Americans, whether they were free or not, to vote. The next section was the growth in the cities. During this time, there were millions of people coming to America, to the United States, through immigration. And there were cities that were going from small towns into big cities and changing. And these big cities tended to be on the Mississippi River or on tributaries going into the Mississippi River. For instance, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Louisville, they were all in proximity to the Mississippi River, so things could get in and out. So they actually became big cities in the Midwest. And that way they could take the farm products, whether it be cattle or corn or wheat or whatever, and they could get to the markets with their products. Major increase in immigration from 1840 to 1860. The biggest group were the Irish. The Irish had a big problem. There actually was enough potatoes and food to keep the Irish people from starving. But there was the British, the United Kingdom, were in charge of Ireland. And so they made them produce potatoes to export to London, to England. And when it's called the Great Potato Famine, the potatoes under the ground were rotting because of blight. And all the ones that came out okay, they exported to England. So that meant the people in Ireland were starving to death, literally starving to death. Over 1 million died because of starvation. About 1.5 million actually came to America to get out of that famine and to get out of starvation. The second biggest group of people coming to the United States during this time period would have been the Germans. Now, when you have a large group of immigrants, whoever's at the bottom of the economic, social ladder, they don't want anybody else coming because they're afraid these new immigrants are willing to take whatever. They'll take lower pay. They'll do work jobs they won't do if they were already living here. And so there were a lot of discrimination against the new immigrants. And from that, a group of nativists, oh, only if you were born here. Come on, none of us were born here unless you were Native American. We were all immigrants, but yet they were angry about it. They didn't want them taking their jobs. They thought they brought crime and disease. It was not a good time for immigrants. They had to come here because they were starving in Ireland. But once they got here, there was definitely discrimination. And a group got together and they formed their own political party, and they were very anti-immigration. And so when people would ask them, well, what's going on? Oh, no, I don't know. I know nothing. So they became known as the Know Nothing Party. And they were the Know Nothing Party, and they were anti-immigration until 1854, and the Know Nothing Party then became the American Party, and it didn't last long. Okay, that's it. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Make sure you turn in all of your work from this week. Basically, you have the work from this week was on Monday we were off. Tuesday and Wednesday you did chapter 14, section 1, and it was your choice. You could do any strategy you wanted. And then Thursday and Friday was the guided reading, which was chapter 14, section 2. And all of that is due by Sunday. Whenever you finish all of it, just turn it in all at the same time. I would prefer. It's just easier to grade that way. And I will see you on Monday morning. Thank you. Have a great weekend.